Welcome back to Learn and Grow, where we explore ideas and trends shaping our world. I'm Amanda.
And I am Alex. Each week we dive into topics that push boundaries, spark conversation, and help us, and hopefully you grow along the way.
Absolutely. And today we're talking about something that's been buzzing a lot lately: sustainable fashion. It's become not just a trend, but a movement. So the big question is it a fleeting trend, or is it shaping the future of the fashion industry?
That's a great question, Amanda. Sustainable fashion is everywhere: social media, fashion runways, eco-conscious brands popping all over the place. But what does it actually mean for the future of fashion? Will it last, or is it just a flash in the pan?
Right. It's all about clothing that's made in a way that doesn't harm the environment or exploit people, which sounds great in theory, but how does it hold up in the long run?
Well, we have seen so many fast fashion brands adopt sustainable lines, like Zara's Joint Life collection or H&M's Conscious line. But are these just marketing strategies, or are they really walking the walk?
That's something we'll dig into today. But let's start by talking about the rise of the movement. Over the past few years, there's been a major push for sustainability in all sectors, not just in fashion. I mean, people are more conscious of where their food comes from, the products they buy, and how their lifestyle impacts the planet. Fashion is a huge part of that.
Absolutely. The fashion industry is one of the most polluting industries in the world, from water waste to textile waste and the carbon emission tied to manufacturing and transport. It's no secret that fashion has been a major environmental problem. But now we are seeing brands shift to more eco-friendly practices. Let's talk about that. What do you think, Amanda?
Well, it's exciting. For starters, there is a rise of materials like organic cotton, hemp, and even mushrooms. Brands are experimenting with biodegradable fabrics, plant-based dyes, and upcycling old clothes to create new ones. I mean, we're even seeing fashion houses making clothes out of recycled plastic bottles. And then there is the trend of buying second-hand. It's not just thrifting anymore, it's a whole movement.
That's true, and I think it's so interesting how we have shifted our mindset around second-hand clothes. In the past, it had a stigma, but now it's considered cool to shop vintage or buy from resale platforms like Bushmark, Depop, or ThredUp. It's almost like we have rediscovered the value in clothes that have a history or a story behind them.
Definitely. It's like we're coming full circle to a time when clothing had more meaning, where it passed down or repurposed instead of mass-produced and tossed aside. But of course, there's a flip side to all of this. Fast fashion still dominates the market and continues to pump out clothes at a crazy rate. For some, sustainable fashion can feel out of reach. Prices on eco-friendly clothing can be higher, and some people can't just afford it.
Right, and that's one of the challenges. Sustainable fashion can be expensive, which isn't always accessible for everyone. Plus, not all sustainable brands are equal. Some claim to be eco-friendly without full transparency, and sometimes it's hard to figure out who is genuinely making a difference versus who is just blowing the smoke.
Yeah, the term greenwashing comes to mind. It's when brands market themselves as sustainable, but in reality their efforts are pretty minimal. They'll slap a green label on the product and consumers feel like they're making an ethical purchase, when in fact it's not all that sustainable.
Greenwashing is definitely something to watch out for. That's where consumer education comes in. Though, we need to be aware of what's behind the label. What does sustainable really mean? Is it about the materials, the labor practices, the carbon footprint? It's all interconnected.
Exactly. It's also about making conscious choices, right? Even if we can't afford to buy a new sustainable item every season, we can be more mindful about how much we consume. Maybe it's about buying fewer, better quality items or repairing clothes instead of tossing them out. Or even swapping clothes with friends. I've been doing a clothing swap with my friends every few months. It's so fun.
That's such a great idea. Clothing swaps are a perfect way to reduce waste and refresh your wardrobe without buying new stuff. I think that's one of the things that makes sustainable fashion so exciting. It's not just about the brands, it's about shifting the way we think about fashion consumption as a whole.
Right. It's a mindset shift. And I think the younger generation is really driving that change. Gen Z especially seems to be demanding more accountability from brands. They care about the environment and social justice, and they are voting with their wallets.
Absolutely. Social media has amplified that with influencers and activities pushing for change. It's harder for brands to hide behind greenwashing. It's like there is an entire watchdog community out there now, which is fantastic. But it's not just about being green anymore, it's about being ethical too.
Yes, ethical fashion, which ties into fair wages, safe working conditions, and respecting workers' rights. Some sustainable brands have really gone above and beyond by supporting workers in developing countries, ensuring that not only the environment is cared for, but the people making the clothes are treated fairly.
And that's huge. It's about recognizing the human side of fashion, not just the environmental side. So when you buy a piece of clothing, you're also thinking about the workers who made it, their wages, and the conditions they worked in. It's about being socially responsible too.
It really is. And while we're seeing the trend grow, it's not perfect yet. There is still a long way to go in terms of accessibility, inclusivity, and affordability. But it feels like the momentum is there. More and more people are waking up to the fact that fashion isn't just about looking good, it's about doing good.
Exactly. At the end of the day, I think it's about making more mindful choices and encouraging the industry to evolve with us, whether it's buying second-hand, choosing more eco-friendly brands, or simply consuming less. Every step counts.
Definitely. Alright, that's all the time we have today for today's episode. Let us know, what do you think about sustainable fashion? Do you think it's here to stay, or is it just another flash in the pan?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share Learn and Grow with your friends. Join us next week for another deep dive into a topic that's shaping our future.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep growing, keep learning, and we'll see you next time. Now, let's explain idioms in the topic. Number 1, flash in the pan. It means something that appears to be successful or exciting at first, but then fades away quickly. For example, many believe that the trend of digital detoxing would be just a flash in the pan, but it has turned into a long-lasting movement.
Number 2, walking the walk, meaning to back up one's claims with actions. For example, companies need to walk the walk, not just talk the talk when it comes to sustainability.
Number 3, blowing smoke. It means to deceive or give a false impression. For example, that company is just blowing smoke when they claim to be sustainable. Their actual practices don't support their claims.
Number 4, vote with their wallets, meaning to support or reject something by choosing where to spend money. For example, consumers are voting with their wallets by supporting ethical brands and avoiding companies that don't prioritize sustainability.
Number 5, watchdog community. It means a group that monitors and holds others accountable for their actions, especially in an ethical context. For example, the watchdog community has been calling out fast fashion companies that don't keep their sustainability promises.
Number 6, doing good, meaning acting in a morally positive or ethical way. For example, by supporting brands that pay fair wages, we are doing good and making a positive impact on workers' lives.
And that's all for today. See you next time.